Welcome to the Beardy Day Beards of the Basement edition here. Thought we'd try something new today. Gonna do instead of a 10-second clip of me making an arse of myself, gonna interview Mr. EndlessGrind 26, eGrind 26 on Twitter. Come to know him through being in Bitcoin the last couple of years. It's very important to follow good people with integrity, and he's been awesome, kind of known as the chart man. He's got all the beautiful charts. Definitely want to follow him, check him out. No YouTube channel yet, but you can follow him on Twitter, see all the charts. Be asking some questions, but before I do that, so I started at the end of 2020 getting into Bitcoin a little bit. Of course, you fall into all the pitfalls of leverage trading and just the basics. What's Bitcoin versus everything else. We can kind of go through your strategies there. Of course, I wish what I would have known was the difference between like spot trading versus leverage trading, and then just strategy of how long to hold. Like, what are we going to hold forever? Are we going to hold Shiba Inu forever or Bitcoin? That's at least for the beginners, that kind of stuff. So yeah. And then, of course, get your perspective, because I'm sure we all share a lot. I would consider you an OG.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
2013, I don't know if you can believe it. It's already been a decade ago.
I know.
So I guess, do you want to start there? You can go over your background a little bit, whatever you're comfortable sharing, and then kind of go back to 2013. I'm curious about, I think there was only a few coins available. I don't even think Ethereum was around yet, was it?
Yeah. Yeah, we could definitely talk about that. So yeah, thank you, Beardy. I appreciate you having me on here and giving us the opportunity to connect. And yeah, I've appreciated interacting and engaging with you over the past year or so.
Well, I had to do this because there was supposed to the little green guy in the memes. I think he stole your original breakout video interview, so we had to do this, and just selfish reasons to kind of learn process and all that good stuff.
But sure. Yeah. About a month and a half ago, I had an interview with somebody else and the recording got corrupted. But, everything happens for a reason. And I'm happy that an OG grinder is going to be the first person who's interviewing me. So I appreciate it.
Yeah. Oh, there's a rumor that, so you're the endless grinder, but there's a rumor last fall that you weren't grinding for 3 hours. Is that true?
Yeah, sometimes I have to take a break. I think there was one day that I fell asleep and I woke up in the morning and I was like, crap, I forgot to do charts. And then there was like 2 times that I felt sick and I had to tap out. So I like to joke that my body is what keeps me from grinding.
Yeah, well, they'll forgive you in a bear market.
All right.
But the first thing I heard in the beginning was, bear markets are actually better, which I was like, how could that be? Because the price goes down. But that's when all the BS kind of goes away and all the people that are in it, for real, are kind of doing their thing. So we can do stuff like this.
Absolutely. Yeah. I was going to say, like, we're doing what we're supposed to do. We're building in the bear market right here. And the next bull market comes around, people will be looking to people like you and me. And hopefully we'll be able to, have this be a source of income and a source of pleasure for us moving forward.
Whatever you want to talk about your background. I know you got
sure.
Psychology, and then
a
little bit.
So I graduated high school in 2009 and I went to college for psychology. And I always knew when I got into psychology that I wanted to work with people and I wanted to do individual therapy. I think it's important to say that because a lot of times people think that most people who get into psychology don't know what they want to do in life, and that's why they chose that major or whatever. But I actually knew that that's what I wanted to do. So I was involved in that, and the reason why that's important is because there's so many aspects about trading really does come down to human psychology and understanding who are the other players on the field? I guess is how I would word it. You're you're interacting with all these other humans who are all making these trades, and everybody's making their decisions. And most of them are making their decisions on emotion. And if you can figure out the math behind it and find the patterns in that math with all like the trading indicators and learning that type of stuff, I think it gives you an advantage over the people who are just trading emotionally.
Are you saying
But
human beings aren't rational?
yes, they are often not rational, and that goes not only for trading, but obviously like a lot of other stuff too that I see in my day-to-day individual therapy with people. But yeah, so I was going to college for psychology, and I met somebody in my dorm junior year who was, I would say, like an entrepreneur. He had, at the age of 16, made like five figures off of like a World of Warcraft server. He was running an eBay store. He was buying and selling used items off of an electronics store online. And he set up like a program that would notify him when these like open box used items would come up. He would grab them at a discounted price and then he would flip them on eBay. And so he was right down the hall from me, and we were living dorm life. And I was seeing him like rake in all this money by doing this. So I joined him with that. And so after like a semester of like basically just like hustling computer parts around and making money off of that, he came to me and he was like, well, you've been good at this. You've been interested in doing different stuff. Have you ever heard of cryptocurrency? Have you ever heard of Bitcoin? And I said, no. And so he was the one who really introduced me to blockchain technology and Bitcoin and all that stuff. And I'll be honest with you, at that time, I really didn't know much of what he was talking about. And it was a extremely speculative asset. I mean, we're talking that was, like I said, 2011. But then in 2012, 2013, I was still friends with him. He was doing all this different stuff. And when Bitcoin spiked all the way up to like $1,000, he was coming to me and he was saying like, I don't know what I should do. I've got like, five figures from this investment that was like, only hundreds of dollars or whatever.
Yeah.
Should I sell all this stuff? And I didn't know what to tell him, but it was fun watching him. And at that time, it was so difficult to be able to do different stuff. Like Coinbase didn't exist yet. So he was doing all of this through the Chinese market. So he would have to like sign up on these websites that he literally like they weren't in English. He had to use like the computer to translate them to English so that he could make an account and send his Bitcoin there and then cash out and then wait like 4 or 5 weeks for the money. And it was all really tense and nerve wracking, but he did cash out and he got that money. And I was like, holy crap, like here's this magic internet money actually working for somebody.
Okay, so this is 2013. So there's any exchanges? Was there Mount Gox yet, or
Well, yeah, like Mount Gox was there, but he wasn't using Mount Gox. I don't remember the name of the exchange he was using, but
yes?
again, I know it was some Chinese exchange. I had the opportunity at one. So here's my first pitfall, right? Hindsight is always 2020, but my first pitfall was I had the opportunity to buy 100 Bitcoin for $1 a piece. And being a college student who was like living off of my summer work money, I was like, oh, I can't risk money like that. I've never invested before. And, I don't know what's going on. It sounds risky. I'm not going to do that. I wish I did.
Well, at that time, it was probably a lot riskier, not going to
Yeah.
zero than Bitcoin's only what 3, 4 years old at that point.
Yeah. And like, again, like you didn't have centralized exchanges really. There wasn't really any place in the US that you could do it like easily. So the Mount Gox thing, had happened and you're just like, I don't know about this. When you don't have the history, you can't,
Yeah,
I'm much more confident about the asset class now than back then, because
yeah,
of how much time's passed and how much growth you've seen. And that's the thing I think is like when you're involved in it for a longer period of time and you see where it's come from because you've lived where it's come from, That's what gives you the confidence in these bear markets. That's what makes you say, like, I'm not worried about it. Everybody's saying, oh, is it dead? Is it dead? And it's like, I've been hearing this story for a decade.
Yeah.
No, it's not dead.
Yeah.
So then with some of his earnings, he decided to like double down and he basically said, I'm going to start mining Bitcoin. So I helped him set up some of his mining rigs and like get that all set up in his house. And, I wasn't tech savvy with all that stuff. He basically walked me through it all. And at the end of it, I was like, well, I can't I can't afford my own miners. I don't want to set all that stuff up, but I would be interested in kind of like playing in this system and trying to figure out what's going on. So he introduced me to Litecoin mining. He introduced me to a coin called Frey coin. And I mined those two coins for maybe like half a year. And then that gets us to like December of 2013. And he messages me at the beginning of like December and he says, hey, there's this new community like joke coin, Dogecoin, that is going to be created.
The Doge
And
or Doge?
yeah, I like to say Dogecoin or yeah, Doge. I like to say Dogecoin, but a lot of people like to say Doge.
Okay.
Um,
And all these are obviously these are all proof of work. There's no proof of stake yet, right?
I don't know 100% for sure, but yes, I'm pretty sure like
So
pretty
like
much all of them were proof of work back then.
Doge, Litecoin, Bitcoin, they're all proof of work.
Yeah, and
And,
Frey coin was proof of work, and there was like Feather coin, Peer coin, Name coin. I mean, there's so much stuff.
yeah, and you don't
Um,
know which ones are going to make it through. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So he says to me, here it could just be a joke. It could mean nothing. And he was like, but you could get a crap load of these tokens, and if it ever does go to $1, like you'd make a lot of money. So I sat back and I said to myself, all right, well, what do I know about human psychology? I know that humans are irrational. I know that humans don't think things through. I know that humans like animals. I know that humans like jokes. If there's a community behind something, it might not die. So I started exploring the ethos of like what Dogecoin was going to be. And I got involved in the community right from the beginning. And I basically said, all right, if it's only going to cost me about $40 a month for an electricity cost to run the graphics cards that I already have in my computer and mine these coins, I think that it would be a good learning opportunity to get into the space. And worst case scenario, I just invested $40 a month into like a quote unquote hobby that turned out to be nothing. So, I got all the software, I signed up for the pools, I mined these coins, I was checking on them every day and keeping up with the community. And I was watching like the Reddit numbers grow. And even if though the price wasn't really growing because people were basically mining and immediately dumping the tokens to get their money back, I was like, there's something here. And I was like, I'm willing to take the asymmetrical bet of holding this because basically the community started forming this like meme or this like message motto of one Doge equals $1. And I was like, if this ethos just sticks around in the community and everybody believes it, even though the tokenomics don't make any sense for that to happen, it still could happen because I know human psychology. So
For the
that was,
record,
yeah,
it came very close. What it look at right before Elon on Saturday Night Live, I think it got to 72 cents somewhere around there. So
yep,
probably the
72, 73.
next bull market could actually happen, but
Yeah.
72 from where you obtained it, I'm sure that's still quite a growth.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So I basically, I went to friends and family. I told them about like what I was doing. Everybody rolled their eyes and thought it was like silly. My dad was the only one who ended up investing with me. And what I said to him was, I said, "This is what I'm doing. I'm doing it for fun. I think that you have like a good opportunity here. What's the most amount of money that you would be comfortable like throwing down a storm drain?" And he came up with that figure and he sent me that money and I opened an account on it wasn't on Coinbase at that time, so I don't remember exactly how I got the the Dogecoin, but I figured out an exchange that I could put the money into, make the trade, and get the Doge for him. And then my dad and I held it for 7 years. And in the middle there, you had the 2017 bull run, and my average investment, I think it peaked at around like 14,000% at that point. And a lot of people were like, "Oh, you should sell, you should get out." And I was like, "No, like I have an original investing thesis here, and nothing's changed, and the community's still growing, and this is going to be my ticket. This is going to be my ticket to doing something new, doing something different, and I can wait again. I see now. I understand the cycle. So I
Well,
said
hopefully
I'm going
it cashed in a little bit at around 70 cents.
to. Oh yeah, yeah. So in 2021, in January 21, when things started going bonkers with the altcoins after the initial pump by Bitcoin, my dad and I started taking out different tranches at 5 cents, 11 cents, 16 cents, 25 cents, 35 cents, 50. And then we took out probably about 40% of our investment in the 68 to 73 cent range. I stayed up extra late that night. I was trading on the Asian market. I stayed up till 3 o'clock in the morning so that I could hit that top.
Pretty much
And
nailed it. Yeah.
yeah, and yeah, I pretty much nailed it at like 71, 72. But Doge wasn't even trading on Coinbase at that point either. So I was using like swap services. So I couldn't even like put my bids in exactly how I wanted. I basically just had to say like, give me the fair market value at this moment.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean that's my story with that. And what's great about that strategy is, it taught me to be um, sure in my convictions, follow the fundamentals, have a long term perspective,
Yeah. It sounds like
and
you managed the risk pretty well.
yeah, yeah, and I did take out my original investment, like that electricity bill, like in 2004 or 2017 or whatever, so like it was all free money or house money or whatever they say at that point. So and so did my dad. So like we were just like, wow, this is great. And and that's when everybody comes back and they're like, hey, that was the thing that you told us about 7 years ago, right? And we're like, yeah. And you rolled your eyes at me.
That's where the conviction part is so important because I mean it's not easy. 7 years of not a whole lot of movement would be most people would just lose interest
Yeah,
and work
exactly.
further away.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, it was 3 years of being in the red, 1 year of being like positive, a decent amount that would make normal people, cash it all out and just forget about it. But and then it was, even though it went back down, it was still green for until it went on its next bull run for me. But I was just patient, and I said I want this to be the money that I'll get to be able to invest in like more serious things, because I was going through like normal like life stuff at that time. I had grad school, I was getting married, I got a condo with my wife, we started to have a kid. So I didn't have the ability to put money aside, especially into like what most people would call high risk asset class. So, and started learning technical analysis. And then what I first did is I went back. I went back in history and I looked at how the TA aligned with the price movements previously and the decisions that I made previously. And I learned where I made mistakes just because I didn't know technical analysis at that time. And it was kind of like these light bulb moments where you're like, oh, if I knew this back then, I would have done things so differently. That's also around the time that I decided like I want to start making something of this. I want to make a channel, I want to do social media, and I want to try to teach other people, because I recognize the biggest obstacle for most people to get into crypto is understanding what's going on and then not getting scared. And I was like, I think I have a unique combination of skills here, because I can talk about the psychology part, and then I'm also in it from the beginning when most people didn't even know it existed. And now I'm studying the economics and the TA. So I was like, I'm going to put these all together. And I came up with the name Endless Grind because I want to keep up the grind. And
26.
yeah.
25 was taken.
Yeah. So yeah, I was just like, you know what? That's going to be my motto. Keep up the grind. Don't stop. Don't lose focus. Don't forget the past. Keep researching. Keep studying. Don't pull yourself out of the market. And maybe I can be that like leader for some people. So if a lot of people have busy lives, if they can't spend the time to do this, maybe they can trust somebody like me to do it for them, and then
Not trust but verify, of course.
right, of course, of course. So yeah, so that's kind of how it all came about, and the rest is history.
No, it's a good story. One huge takeaway is that you had one shout out to your friend, whoever that was. You have to buy him a couple coffees or something.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sure
yeah.
he's doing well with everything you had going on, but
Yeah,
kind of nailed.
he's doing really well because he got into ETH when ETH was like between $7 and $11.
Yeah, he's doing okay.
Yeah.
And you kind of nailed the. I was going to ask kind of why you do what. I mean, of course, we're human beings are greedy sometimes, but
Hmm.
we can accumulate all these gains, but it doesn't mean much unless you have your why. Like, why do you do what you do? And so for you, it's a lot of education piece, helping can help other people, benefit their lives that wouldn't have time. Like
Yeah.
me, I'm a nurse, so I don't learn as much as I can when I'm not working, but you can help kind of streamline some people.
Right.
And it keeps getting easier over time because back first there's no exchanges, then there's exchange. It keeps getting more user friendly. Hopefully, the
Right.
next they'll kind of improve the self custody. Make it easier for people to store and manage their own keys and stuff. But
Yeah, actually, that's a good point, Beardy. One of the biggest hurdles back then was that there weren't really a lot of like custody options. And so like the original self custody option was to have the Bitcoin Core wallet that was like made for the blockchain on your computer, but you had to have the entire blockchain downloaded to be able to do that. So you're talking hundreds of gigabytes of your computer space taken up by this blockchain, and you had to sync it all the time, and it would take forever to sync. I mean, at one point I had to switch computers, and when I had to re-download the blockchain onto my new computer, it took like 2 weeks for the entire blockchain to download. So these are barriers that like a lot of people didn't want to participate in. Either they didn't have hardware that, I don't have a terabyte hard drive like you do, Mr. Computer Nerd. So, they couldn't even hold the blockchain on their computer unless they wanted.
nerds.
Yeah.
Cue the
Unless,
John Goodman nerds gif.
right? Yeah. So like a lot of people were like, oh, I got to get new hardware. Oh, it takes too long. My internet is like poor. If I lose this file, if I don't back up my computer, I could lose this. Everybody kind of, it scares so many people away. And it's so much time and energy, and you need to be computer savvy with a lot of this stuff. So I do like that the direction is moving where it's just easier to be able to manage your own keys.
Yeah, I agree that for mass adoption, I think you don't really have to have grandma be able to kind of easier way to her manage her own stuff.
Yeah.
Because some people they'll give up, they're okay giving up some of the freedom and and trying to trust somebody else. But last
Hmm.
everything that went on in 2022, all the exchanges blowing up and all the fraud, I think people are hopefully starting to see how important it is to manage your own stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope so. And I think that the on-chain, numbers or metrics are kind of showing us that with all the, all the money, Bitcoin coming off the exchanges after the FTX, and even the FUD scares about Binance right now.
Yeah.
People are pulling it off, and Ledger had a month recently where they like sold out because of the how high the demand was. So yeah, it's definitely good to see that people are taking that self custody approach, and it can be intimidating. It can be scary at first, but I think in the end, you're going to appreciate taking that own responsibility and feeling like I'm in charge of this, and I don't have to pay a middleman to take care of something else and skim my profits off the top.
Yep, that's definitely the ethos of crypto. I learned my lesson. I had a little bit on Celsius. Luckily,
Okay.
the month before, I'd taken most of it off into cold storage. So it kind of
Good.
got lucky there. But and then the other thing I learned is it doesn't even matter if they're fraudulent or not. If enough people get scared and all hell breaks loose, then it doesn't matter if everybody's pulling their money.
Right.
This takes the human psychology piece. Everybody freaks out, but not sure how much longer Zoom will give me here. But I think for wrapping up, we could. I'll give you the last word, of course, but also I just wanted to mention a little bit of your strategy because Twitter is humorous, but there's
Mm,
a lot of people don't take responsibility for their own investments and such, and
right.
they'll say, "Well, you posted this chart yesterday, and you said it was going to go up, and it went down." So, and this was over like a 2 hour period. You want
Yeah.
to kind of go over your time frame, what you're looking at, and
Yeah.
I don't know if you have any charts. If not,
Yeah,
we'll
we could
from
poke
there.
around a couple different things. So yeah, what is my strategy? So my strategy is to try to improve financial literacy and to do that every single day. So I do dedicate, well, obviously like at least an hour or so every day to charting and sending those out to the community. But outside of that, I mean, I watch a lot of videos, I read a lot of articles, I keep up with the metrics and the numbers of certain chains and projects that I actually hold. So I would say that on average, I spend 2 to 5 hours each day doing this stuff. So it is like a second job. It's a full
Bless your heart.
time. Yeah,
Do you,
thanks.
do you still do the real job, or are you done with that?
I still do the real job, but luckily, being an individual therapist as an independent contractor, I get to make my own hours and flex my schedule and whatnot. So I don't really have to answer to anybody. I basically just rent a room and give a portion of my income to my bosses who, advertise for the business and bring in the referrals. But
Yeah. And you can do
yes,
all that because of the good decisions you made previously to get more
exactly.
free, which is kind of my goal is for people to experience some of that freedom, get out of the rat race a little bit.
Yeah.
So you're recommending 50x leverage or 100?
No leverage. I've never leverage traded. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't even really know where to start with that in terms of like how to manage your risk. Maybe some of the people in the community who do that. I know that some of the followers do the leverage trading, and they seem to be successful with it because they post
Well,
some of
that
their profits
they post when they win, they don't post
when they
my
lose.
my experience just buy at spot. It's like there's so much volatility in crypto that everybody else is basically you can use their leverage and just buy at spot. And if it goes against you, you can just hold on
Yeah,
longer. But that's
yeah.
just me. And so time frame, you're looking at 1 day or
Oh yeah. So time frame. Uh,
forever.
Time frame is minimum 1 year. And my philosophy on that is to make sure that you're making an investment that you believe is going to make it in the long run, number one. But number two, being in the US, that makes those investments go from short-term capital gains to long-term capital gains, and then you have to pay less taxes to the government, which means more profit in your pocket. So that's my strategy. But outside of that, it's really a 2 to 5 year time frame, just so that you have the time to be able to ride, the full cycle and whatnot. So what I find helpful is that when I'm making a Bitcoin purchase and I'm saying to myself, I'm not going to sell this for 1 to 2 years minimum. It kind of takes some of the pressure off once as you get used to that strategy. And also it makes it easier when you actually like kind of catch up to that, right? So like right now, pretty much 100% of my portfolio is in long-term capital gains. So if something spikes now and it gets to a level that I feel is appropriate to take some off the table, I'm ready to go. Um, so that's a good feeling to have as well. Whereas in 2021, when I was buying a lot of like altcoins that I was thinking about holding for the the long term, I was saying to myself, I'm either going to need to cash these out in short term capital gains territory, or I'm just going to have to ride them into the next cycle. And so I had to make those decisions about what losers I wanted to cut, what profits I did want to take in that short term capital gain territory, and then how much did I want to hold. And I did purposely hold a little bit of all my alts because I wanted to force myself to kind of keep up with them and pay attention to them as things go. But yeah, so that's like my basic investing philosophy. And don't invest more than you can afford to lose. You know, if the whole market crashed, I don't need any of that money. I can still live off of my regular job. I still have money in the bank. All my bills are paid for, you know, and I think that that's really important
Yeah,
for
risk
people.
management's huge for beginners, not going too heavy in any one thing.
Yeah, yeah. If you go too heavy, too hard at the beginning and then you lose, it can be really discouraging. And it takes you out of it and makes you feel, you know, stupid and, you know, why would I do that again? And then you're fighting those emotions the next time that you try to get in. You really have to start small. You have to be prepared to lose money along the way. Like I've lost a lot of money along the way too with a lot of the choices that I've made, you know, but I'm
Don't
still
post
up.
those.
Yeah. I try to be honest about everything. You know, my charts, I do post my buys. As you guys have probably seen over the course of this year, I've only been buying Bitcoin, and that's my strategy in a bear market. Once as Bitcoin goes underneath the bull market support band, I'm only buying Bitcoin because that's the safest play.
That's what I was going to go over. I think that's so important for me. Like Bitcoin's kind of like the forever hold, you know. I guess you could try to sell it at the top, but I think eventually it's just going to be so scarce that you're just going to just want to hold uh,
Yeah,
and maybe borrow against it. But for
yeah,
me, that's like the forever thing. And then but then when things are going hot, of course, all the other ones are going to go up, you know,
hmm
a higher percentage in relation. But it'll be interesting to see how all the alts shake out. You know, will it be like the Googles and Amazons and all that kind of stuff? And with regulation, but I think for me, Bitcoin's definitely the most, I think, the safest. You know, um,
yeah,
I
100%.
could go over all the philosophy, why it's so good, and all why it's good for freedom, and so many different things. But that'd be for another time.
Another day, yeah, but
So I think
absolutely.
last few minutes, you got if you got any last words or any charts or anything, feel free. I think we got a few minutes left here.
Yeah, so why don't I share my screen and I'll just pull up the Bitcoin chart and then just briefly kind of like go
Yeah,
through a little bit of my
yeah.
strategy with
Once you
my
do that,
indicators.
because when I first started, there'd be a million different things on a chart, and I was like, didn't even know what at all. Because like some of the big guys will post the charts, and then somebody will be like, "Hey, what does that actually mean?"
Yeah. All right, can you see it there?
I see it and got about 4 minutes.
All right. Awesome. So yeah, so basically I'll walk you through some of the indicators that I use here.
Yep, and
So
we're looking at Bitcoin.
yep, we're looking at Bitcoin USD on Coinbase because that's the exchange that I use when I do have to make the trade. But yeah, you got your candlestick pattern, you know, going through here, which
Each candle is a day for
each
the
candles,
beginners. Yep.
yep, each candle's a day, and the wicks are, you know, where the price goes in that day, but the candle bodies are where it opens and where it actually closes in that 24-hour period. And I see it as a map. I see it as a journey that like we go through. We see how the price bounces around between moving averages, simple moving averages like the 20-day SMA, which is this orange line that goes through here. You got the 50-day SMA, the 100-day SMA, and the 200-day SMA. And then this band is the bull market support band, which is made up of the 20-week SMA and the 21-week EMA. So it's just a little bit of a different way of weighting those averages. Um, and I use horizontal ranges. Sometimes I also use the Fibonacci um,
And what are you looking at the bottom there?
Oh, on the
RSI?
bottom here?
Yep.
Yeah. So this is RSI, the relative strength index. And yeah, so I use trend lines. I use these indicators to kind of see what levels we're dealing with here, and you can kind of see how they bounce back and forth in these ranges, and they bounce off of different moving averages at different times, and over time you kind of learn how all this stuff interacts. The bottom of the screen here, we've got the daily volume. On the side of the screen here, we've got the volume distribution for any given time period. So you'll see, like if I zoom in, it changes. If I zoom out, it changes. It's
This
all
is
based on, it's
Trading
all,
View, correct? I
yes, I use TradingView.
think that's
So
really the only thing out there, but
there's a couple of other ones, but I like TradingView. So yeah, that's a little bit of like what like one of my charts would kind of look like. And I don't really try to tell people what direction we're going in. I just tell them what we're looking at right now. And if it was bullish, we want it to see this. If it's bearish, it's gonna do something like that. And give you guys the ability to say, what do you think is going to
yeah,
happen, and what are you willing to risk?
the data reveals itself. So yeah, this has been fun. We got about 60 seconds here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank everybody. If you're interested in this kind of stuff, follow EndlessGrind 26 on Twitter. I am Beardy Day on Twitter, obviously.
Hmm.
I try to post a video once in a while, but I guess my last question, Grinder, if I send you 1 Bitcoin, will you send me 2?
No, Beardy. Don't trust anybody with that. I
Thanks
appreciate
for
it.
taking the time. Hopefully people are interested and want to kind of do their own work. This will get them started.
Yeah. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Have a great day, Grinder.
You too, Beardy.